Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's nightly news. Here are tonight's top stories. The President of the Republic carries out a partial reshuffle at the level of the heads of diplomatic and consular representations. The Army General Said Chingriha, the PNA Chief of Staff, stresses the necessity of operational readiness while inspecting the command of the territorial air defense. After adopting the UN immediate ceasefire, Algeria reiterates its commitment to advocate the Palestinian cause despite all the obstacles hindering this diplomatic approach. Welcome back. We begin with tonight's major story where the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, conducted a partial reshuffle at the level of heads of diplomatic and consular representations in accordance with the provisions of the Article 92 of the Constitution. The movement included 28 ambassadors, 3 consuls general, and 3 consuls. This move is meant to revitalize the diplomatic apparatus and to improve the performance of the diplomatic corps who face the current challenges and to ensure the optimal care of our community abroad. Army General Said Chingriha, the PNA Chief of Staff, paid a working and inspection visit to the Territorial Air Defense Command, where he stressed the necessity to maintain the operational readiness as to face all the challenges and defend Algeria's airspace. Ines Killu reports.
After the welcoming ceremony at the entrance to the Air Defense Command headquarters, the Army General, accompanied by Major General Abdelaziz Houam, Commander of the Territorial Air Defense, observed a minute of silence in memory of Shahid Daghin Ben Ali, known as Silotfi, whose name is borne by the command headquarters, and laid a wreath of flowers at the stele erected in his memory before reciting the Fatiha on his soul and that of all the valiant Shuhada. After that, the Army General held a meeting with members of the Territorial Air Defense, where he delivered an orientation speech which was followed by members of the units affiliated with this command via video communication technology, in which he emphasized the importance that the High Command of the People's National Army attaches to the control of airspace, considered to be a decisive factor in achieving air supremacy and winning modern battles.
إننا في الجيش الوطني الشعبي.
He also stressed that the People's National Army is fully aware of the importance of the radical change in the nature and theater of modern battles, as airspace has undoubtedly occupied the forefront of operations, and thus it has become an operational standard of great importance and a decisive factor capable of turning the balance of wars and not just winning battles. Whoever controls the airspace has the factors and conditions for victory, and now this space is the environment in which we must record our first victories by winning the development challenge and the challenge of air superiority.
وتحقيق رهان التفوق الجوي.
The Army General stressed that the personnel of the Territorial Air Defense Forces must constantly ensure that they are prepared and optimize their operational readiness in order to preserve the integrity of the national airspace.
من هذا المنظور يتعين على قيادة وإطارات وأفراد قوات الدفاع الجوي عن الإقليم بأن يعوا.
Army General also called upon the command, executives and personnel of the Territorial Air Defense Forces to understand the extent of their responsibility by ensuring the operation of preparation of units, strict monitoring of our space, and improving operational processes. It is also up to them to give training, combat preparation, attention and monitoring required in order to ensure that they are properly adapted to the demands of modern technologies and to prepare qualified and specialized human resources capable of dealing with all possible eventualities and ensuring the flawless defense of our airspace.
بشكل يؤمن دفاعا أكيدا ودائما على كل مجالنا الجوي.
The Army General then paid a close interest to the speeches made by the Territorial Air Defense Command executives and gave them instructions and guidelines, particularly on the need to continue combat preparation efforts with all the vigor and seriousness required in order to maintain the operational readiness of the units at the highest level.
Day after the UN ceasefire resolution, the Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Attaf indicated that Algeria, since joining the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member, was against the fait accompli policy adopted by the other members vis-à-vis the Zionist aggression against the Palestinian people, calling the UN Security Council to assume its responsibilities contained in the Algerian initiative. The head of the Algerian diplomacy noted that this move goes in line with the guidelines of the President of the Republic, meant to protect the Palestinian people and broker an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Ahmed Attaf urged the necessity to remove all the obstacles hindering the humanitarian aid, and while condemning the occupation and calling for a binding with the independence process of Palestine. Indeed, for the first time, a resolution was adopted yesterday by the UN Security Council calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, an Algerian initiative that shows the diplomatic work and continuous support to the Palestinian cause, according to this report compiled by Melissa Kepesh.
After 6 months of the Zionist aggression, the UN Security Council finally adopted a resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, thanks to the initiative made by Algeria and backed by other elected members. This resolution constitutes a diplomatic breakthrough for Algeria and an outcome of the endless efforts deployed by our country at the Security Council so as to put an end to the genocide perpetrated against the Palestinian people. It is worth recalling that Algeria, via its representation at the UN and according to the President of the Republic's guidelines, spared no efforts ever since its admission to the Council in 2024 as a non-permanent member, so as to end the Zionist aggression. The Algerian diplomatic mission to the UN called since January for several meetings at the Security Council dedicated to Palestine, precisely the situation in Gaza. However, the Council failed numerous times to impose an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. As for now, the ceasefire has been adopted following the vote on a resolution project that was presented last February by Algeria. The United States withheld. This didn't deter Algeria, which multiplied its attempts through the voice of its representative, Ammar Ben Jama, until the Council assumed its responsibility towards the Palestinian people. Intense negotiations were carried over the past 2 days, during which Algeria submitted a proposal discussing the most complex elements. It was also a question of a durable ceasefire, the release of all detainees, and the guarantee of humanitarian and medical aid delivery. A resolution initiated by Algeria and adopted with a standing ovation as it gave hope for a whole besieged region during a month of peace and mercy.
Following this eagerly awaited resolution, the Palestinians highly applauded the Algerian diplomacy, which was behind this decision, likely to comfort the Gazan population worn out of war and famine. Our correspondent Wissam Abu Zaid and desk reporter Melissa Kepesh depict for us their immediate reactions.
After the death of thousands of Palestinians over the past 6 months of genocide committed by the Zionist entity, Palestinians can finally have a sign of relief after the adoption of a ceasefire following the Algerian initiative. Despite losing their homes and families and now living in makeshift tents, Palestinians indicated that the decision is a continuous effort made by Algeria, which has always been siding with the Palestinian cause in international fora.
دوما كانت ولا زالت مناصرة للقضية الفلسطينية، يعني هي واحدة من الدول العربية الحامية للقضية الفلسطينية.
Algeria has always supported the Palestinian cause. It is the Arab country that protects as well the Palestinian cause, from aid delivery to representing the cause on the international level.
ما يتعلق بالإغاثة السياسة وغيرها من الأمور يعني التي تساهم في صمود المواطنين هنا.
الجزائر هي الدولة الممثلة لمجموعة الدول العربية.
Algeria is a country known for its supportive position towards the Palestinian cause.
القضية الفلسطينية.
يفترض أن يبنى على هذا القرار.
This decision is supposed to have a positive impact, despite the fact that the enemy has violated all rules and decisions made by the Security Council.
Despite the issuance of the decision, the colonizer still hasn't stopped its attacks against innocent Palestinian civilians and is still surrounding hospitals in Khan Yunis in Gaza.
The Zionist entity killed everyone, men, women, and children. It demolished everything. Nothing is spared. All this so we can leave. We are not leaving. We will remain here.
From the beginning of these heinous attacks against Gaza, the Zionist war machinery has breached numerous UN resolutions and on human rights. As for Palestinians, they are in serious need to a resolution that will end their untold daily suffering.
Also in diplomacy, the Algerian Bahja Al-Amali has been appointed as Ambassador of Peace and Security within the African Parliament with an immediate effect, according to the Speaker of this African body, Fortune Sharmbira. Back to Algeria and precisely to Tismsid province, where the housing minister Mohamed Tariq Bilaribi stressed during his visit to this province the need to respect the set deadlines for achieving the different types of housing units before the end of the current year, so as to hand in hand with the other development projects now marking this region. More details in this report.
Given the potentialities and characteristics of the province of Tismsid, it is now supported by a significant share of rural housing, aiming to promote development in this crucial field and to meet the aspiration of the province's inhabitants.
These 15,000 rural subsidies go in line with the rural potentialities of Tismsid province. This will make the distribution of the inhabitants across the province logical and regulated.
On the urban level, the residential pole Boumengush is undergoing continuing works on preparing roads and various networks with the completion of the residential units.
This pole is a major project for the province of Tismsid and will give it an eastern extension thanks to a 2,000-unit housing project. After visiting it, we have great hope that we will be able to deliver it by the 5th of July, which is the goal.
Worth mentioning that Tismsid province has benefited from several projects in the housing sector pursuant to the complementary program.
Sports now, the national football team was compelled to a 3-3 draw with the South African side as part of the FIFA tournament held by Algeria. Algeria's goals were scored by Yassine Benzia twice and Yassim Brahimi. Worth mentioning that the national squad secured a thrilling 3-2 victory over Bolivia last Friday.
يفعله المبدع ياسين. العناصر الجنوب افريقيه التحضير على الجهه اليمنى فرصه خطيره وهدف التعادل. هدف التعادل لمصلحه المنتخب الجنوب افريقي بواسطه دفاعيه جنوب افريقيه يستغلها المنتخب الجزائري ويجد ابراهيمي المساحه اللازمه للتسجيل بعد تمريره حاسمه.
The end. Thank you to our technicians and journalists, and thank you for watching. Take care and to Hashalko.